Blossom Tales: The Sleeping King was released back on March 28th, 2017 on Steam, and was a whisper release on the Nintendo Switch this past December 21st. I say a whisper release as I had absolutely no idea this game existed or was even coming out until I was checking out the weekly eShop downloads and wondered what the heck is Blossom Tales. About 5 minutes later, and a Google search or two revealed that this was exactly my kind of game. Here's an interesting fact for you. The Switch version outsold the Steam version within 24 hours of its release. That's right, in 24 hours, the Switch version managed to sell more units than a game that was available for over 9 months. That's pretty amazing if you ask me, and says something about the Switch, and also says something about the sheer volume of titles available on Steam. With that out of the way, let's get this review started. Blossom Tales is without a doubt a Zelda clone, much like Newtopia on the TurboGrafx-16 before it, and many other games. The difference here is that the game is legitimately a carbon copy of The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past in so many different aspects. You need to find 4 pieces of heart to form a heart container. You have to move around one screen at a time, like the classic Zelda games, tackling puzzles such as hitting crystals to remove colored blocks, lighting torches, or moving statues that are on floor panels. All of this stuff is present here. It's so easy for someone to say this is just a Zelda copycat and move on, but the truth is that Zelda games are extremely rare these days. It's not like we get a solid action-adventure game in 2D every week, and because of that, I absolutely adored my time with Blossom Tales. The game begins something like the never-ending story, where a grandfather is telling his grandchildren an epic tale of adventure. In the Kingdom of Blossom, a new recruit has been knighted, Lily. She is on a quest to find 3 sacred items that will restore the Sleeping King back to his normal self and help protect the land from an evil wizard. The dialogue is one of the best aspects of the entire game, and it's downright hilarious at times. There's also quite a bit of dialogue, which I was kinda surprised, and the villagers, they say the darndest things. While the overall storyline is simplistic and has been told a million times before, I love the way that the grandkids interrupt the game during key scenes to put in their own 2 cents or comments. And there's even a gameplay mechanic where one kid will say Lily stumbled upon, say, archers, and the other kid will say something like, well, it wasn't archers, it was stone golems, and then you actually get to decide, well, which one was it? And then the story continues from there. These moments are fantastic, but sadly are so few and far between that I would have much rather had them spread out throughout the entire adventure instead of being so front-loaded like they are. The core gameplay is 100% A Link to the Past, except on a much smaller scale. There's one tiny intro dungeon, 3 main dungeons, and then a final dungeon where you go to take out the boss of the game. There are 48 pieces of heart to collect, 16 magic pieces to find, and 20 hidden scrolls. That's actually good news, as you'll want to look in every nook and cranny of this 11x7 map in order to find absolutely everything. There are even a few weapons that are hidden away for you to discover, and believe me when I say that the game is incredibly addictive. It really does feel like an old school Zelda game. You can even perform Link's spin attack, which is crazy, although I guess here it's Lily's spin attack. Like I said multiple times already, this is so much more than just an homage and ventures headfirst into clone territory. The thing is that for whatever reason, it works. And I believe it's because it's just a well-made love letter to Zelda. Okay, so with all that out of the way, let's talk about a few of the game's shortcomings. For one thing, I said the game was well made, and well, it is. The combat feels tight and responsive, and the game is fun and super addictive, and just that alone is something that the 2 developers should be very proud of. The problem is that there are some serious balancing issues, where the first real dungeon is actually the hardest dungeon in the entire game. And this is because as you progress, you'll slowly find more and more heart containers, but the challenge just doesn't ramp up. So what happens is the challenge just disappears. The puzzles are overly simplistic as well and far too often repeat. You have puzzles where you have to walk across tiles to turn them to another color. You have others where you need to memorize the order in which to strike a set of 4 different blocks or statues, and then you have those where you need to flip the icon to a specific pattern. Yeah, of course there are other types of puzzles, but those 3 are the ones that repeat over and over and over again. I also found the items to suffer some of what many of the 2D Zelda games, or just Zelda games in general, suffer from, where you'll only actually use maybe 3 or 4 weapons throughout the entire game. Once you find the ones you like, you just stick with them. When it comes to these indie titles, everyone has their go-to. I have Shovel Knight and Axiom Verge, Steven has Stardew Valley, and there are tons of others. This isn't one that's going to be remembered as reshaping the landscape of the indie scene forever, but you know what? It doesn't really need to. This is a really fun and addictive action RPG that harkens back to a simpler time when Zelda games were made a specific way and catered to a specific set of people. Blossom Tales is kind of like what would happen if fans of those early Zelda games got together and said, you know what? I want to play another Zelda game like that. But we don't have $50 million, and we don't have a huge development staff, it's just the 2 of us, so what are we going to do? Well, the tale I just told you is more or less exactly what happened with the development of Blossom Tales. And, well, the truth is, it's well worth giving a download on the Switch and on Steam, and I assure you, if you're an old school Zelda fan, you will have a very fun time with this one.